Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the URC. This one, a South African derby between the Lions and the Stormers. Now, we've seen some interesting results already in this round. This is the way that the table currently sits. Glasgow Warriors still at the top of the bunch with their 44 points, 9 wins, 2 losses. But it gets interesting with 2 and 3. We did see Leinster and Cardiff have a close game. The most recent round, or the most recent matches of the URC, they currently find themselves in 2nd and 3rd. The Stormers are in 4th, but they've got 2 games behind Leinster and Cardiff, so a big win here up against the Lions away from home certainly boosts them in the right direction. That points differential is looking extremely handy, whereas for the Lions, there's a 6-point difference at the moment between them and 6th place. So they need a win at home just to give that little bit more confidence as we move throughout the URC season. Looking through at the starting lineups, first of all with the home team and the Lions, SJ Kutsia, PJ Botha and RF Skurman as the front row. Etene Oosthuizen alongside Darian Landsberg in the locking duo with Mahashi, Klikane and Frankie Horn as that number 8. Morne van den Berg's partners with Chris Smith as that 9 and 10 combination. Angelo Davids out on the left wing, Bronson Mills and Hinko van Wyk in the midfield with Kelly and Peku out on the right and Kewan Horn at number 15 for the Stormers side. They have got a couple players missing across this lineup, but overall still a very handy team. Ntutuko Machuno in the front row alongside JJ Kutsia and Sunday at 3. Array Smith and JD Schickerling as the locking duo with Paul de Villiers, Ben Jason Dixon and Evan Ruiz. Now, a lot would call that one of the more dangerous loose forward trios that we could see in this URC competition. And it just shows at the moment that little bit of depth building in terms of loose forwards. Paul de Villiers, he struggles to get himself any sort of international minutes, but I don't think that's going to be the case for long. That man is very close to breaking onto the scene. Stephen Nkura as the number 9 with Sasha Feinberg Ngume Zulu at 10. Lilion Zas out on the left wing. Jonathan Roach and Similani in the midfield with Dylan Mart out on the right and Warwick Lant at number 15. Now, there was a bit of news that Dylan Mart has transferred to a new side here. And, of course, he will remain at the Stormers for the rest of the URC. We have got there. How's it, everyone? Says Philip, welcome in. Hope you are doing well. We have got Stormers for the win. And also, my flights have been cancelled. Found a hotel. This weather is pathetic, says Malon. So, you did mention earlier on that you were at the airport. Whereabouts are you trapped, Malon, at the moment? And also, this game is free to air in Ireland, says Hori, and it is certainly going to be a good one to keep an eye on. There's also a game just around the corner taking place between the Bulls and the Sharks. And I can guarantee you that that is also going to be a very entertaining one to keep an eye on. We have got there, whereas Hamish says, and I don't think we started that late. I think we were roughly on time for this stream. WW3 has started. What a weird day. See, I don't even know what's going on in the world. Like, I don't know what's happened outside of rugby throughout this weekend. I know that there was some golf on, but other than that, I have no idea what's happening in the world. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but for now it's quite peaceful in my little bubble I'm in. We have got 32 points to 26, says Philip there. Okay, so going relatively high scoring, quite close, similar to that scoreline we did see between the Blues as well as the Brumbies. Lions to take this one. What do you think of Eric Cronje? Doesn't get a lot of starting minutes for the Lions. He's had some decent impact off the bench at times, but it's a tricky one because out of all of these sides, it can't really be argued that the Lions have the least amount of depth. For a lot of these other sides, you look through at the Stormers team, for instance, they haven't got Damian Valimza, they haven't got Kobus Reinach, and that type of list of guys that are missing, they could have a real impact. Whereas you look at this Lions team and you think if they didn't have Morne van den Berg, they've got Hassim P, but then backups for him. Nico Stain, he's had some decent moments, but do they still have that same level as some of the other sides? I think that Cronje's solid enough, though, and if it's a close game, he seems to have enough ability to know what to do, how to grind out a win for his side. But, of course, the job has to be done before he gets on the field. And it's going to be a tough job. They're up against the Stormers side that, they really want to get a big win here. And I can't emphasize that enough. They've gone with a strong team. They know that this is where you get your URC top 4 back on track, top 2, maybe. About to be nuked. Right. Okay. Well, I didn't even know that was happening. We have got the hello everyone tuning in to the Kiwi Lads. Says Ruth there. And also Lions, let's go Lions, says Ruth. And looking through at recent form for these two sides, we all start off with the Lions, seeing as they're the home team. They did have their game up against the Sharks to start the new year, winning that contest away from home, 23 points to 22. It was an impressive win and something that the Lions really did need to build their way a little bit more comfortably inside of the top 8. We've got to remember, this is a team that have narrowly missed out multiple years in the URC in terms of that top 8 position. This year they're looking a little bit better though, but these South African derbies, that is where they can drop or they can just go a little bit more towards the top. It's going to be tough. But I feel like no matter what, there's going to be a couple close games. That one that happened in early February was not ideal for this Lions side. They were at home up against the Bulls, losing 52 points to 17. But talking about close games, 2 draws heading into that matchup. And then also most recently, they played that matchup up against the Sharks last week. 34 points to 22. What was a very impressive victory for the Stormers. They did not get to play last week, so their last game was actually February 1st. It's almost, in fact, it's pretty much a whole month since we've seen the Stormers play a game of the URC. They have got close wins over the Bulls. They did lose the 2 head-to-heads to the Sharks, though, and that has hurt their chances of finishing top of the overall standings, but they can still get a home semi. They can still definitely get the home quarterfinal. And then just a little bit of luck of the draw could see the final take place in Cape Town as well. But looking in the chat, we have got there, hi Marlon, not the worst place to be stranded, says Philip. And there for Marlon, in Brazil. You know, that's probably not a bad place. Hopefully, like you said, the weather's a bit rough though, so hopefully you are staying safe. Whereas Ruan Finta, he is going to be playing... Where is Ruan Finta? I thought they would have stuck him in, but maybe injury is why he's been left out. Just because he has been quite an impact player in that loose forward trio. Unless, of course, they're looking at Klekani as that guy to try and fill in that role. But I would have still thought you'd put him off the bench. But then they've got Renzo Duplessis. They've got Kwama. So, you know, yeah, it seems like a risk not to have him. But I think he got injured last week, didn't he? Maybe from memory. The weather looks dodgy here in Cape Town, says Ruth. And Ruan's injured head knock last week. I assume that is from Bailey. It'll be interesting to see if the Lions can make it 2-8 this year. If they can win tonight, then anything can happen. And yeah, the slightly unfortunate thing for the Lions, once again looking at this table, there is a decent gap between them and the side above them. The not so good thing is for the Lions at the moment, yes, there's a 4 points difference. There's a lot of sides right there. And I would even go as low as saying maybe Connacht still have a chance of being able to overtake the Lions depending on how their competition finishes. We've got to remember Connacht have that game in hand. They're going to be playing later on in this round of the URC up against the Glasgow Warriors, who will be without their Scottish internationals. But, you know, one more big win. It's the same for when the Sharks play the Bulls. Whoever wins that game, definitely if it's the Bulls because they have the game in hand, you could argue they have a very good chance of the quarters, whereas the other team, they may miss out. And we're getting towards that do-or-die stage of the competition. There are not many rounds remaining in this URC comp. So every win and every single little point is absolutely crucial. Could you grab your pie between the games? I could not. No, there's no place that's open for pies at this stage here in the small town that I live in. Maybe tomorrow. Yep, last week says Bailey for the head knocker, Ruan Finta. And also we have got the all good. My side, thanks. And also, Philip, I'm with the South Africa team, at least the Lions, says Ruth. And the weather looks dodgy in Cape Town. Luckily, I think the weather's supposed to be all right for this matchup, or from at least what I've heard. Currently, the Lions, they are considered the home side in this match. They will be playing at altitude, which is always a little bit of an equaling factor. But at the same time, I feel like it could easily go either way. Good afternoon. We are Hamish. I'm looking for him. Says Mohadeen. You must not have turned on the screen yet, Mohadeen. And the Sharks have a tough road to the top 8. Yeah, I don't think there's such a thing as an easy road to that top 8 at the moment, is there? For a lot of those sides, between about, I would say, 6 and about 11, in fact, you go lower probably to 13. Everyone in that in between, depending on the runs to the final, you know, it can make a massive difference with where they finish. These are the 3 games that are taking place in 2 weeks' time, ladies and gentlemen. Just the 3 matches in 2 weeks. And they are going to be taking place during... It's going to be a brutal day. That one right there. The Bulls playing the Stormers. That is before the first of 4. Well, in fact, that is the first of 4 matches that we are covering throughout the night. We've got the 3 back-to-back games of the Guinness Six Nations. Before that, I believe there's supposed to be... I think who was playing Super Rugby? I think I deleted that one. But there's going to be a lot of games there too. It's going to be hectic. And there's 7s on. I don't know what I'm going to do. But we'll have time to think about it and get all organised. We got the donation from Philip as well. Thank you very much, mate. Go the Stormers. This one's for Ruth. And we have got Alice Park, says Seller, for where they are playing in there. Can I ask you a favour? That depends on what that favour is, Mohadeen. Because normally they say don't do favours for strangers on the internet, depending on what they are, because they may not be who you think they are. But we'll find out what this favour is. Can I ask you a favour? Yep, go for it once again. Not even a garage pie. Fuel station's normally open 24/7. But going out early morning just for a garage pie is ludicrous. See, our garages close at like 8 or 9 where I am. Like, we don't have we have 24-hour fuel, but no one's at the station when you do it. You just do it on your card. But yeah, the only way you get a pie is if you already had one. At this stage of the night, go the Stormers and good luck, says Clifton. Can you do South Africa versus Zimbabwe? Not sure yet. It depends on what time I get home from the buffet, which me, George and Daniel are going to be trying out tomorrow. We may have to drive a long way to find one, to be fair, and I think we're just going to keep on driving till we see one. So, you know, it could be 11 o'clock by the time I'm home, which is about an hour after that game starts. And Ahoy H got the Stormers, says Juan Pierre Bosch, welcome in. Yeah, hopefully a really good game. That game last week between the Lions and the Sharks, it didn't quite reach expectations in the second half. There were a lot of handling errors, few mistakes along the way. I feel like this game's going to be smoother. A garage pie for the gain, says Neil. Where I stay, we have a 24-hour garage, great for midnight snacks, says Seller. And please eat all the food up, says Mahadeen. Hamish, is it a hot woman buffet? What's on? Not that we know of. We're hoping to find, I think it's a Chinese buffet, I believe. But, yeah, we'll wait and see. One of them's like a takeaway buffet, though. And I mentioned about it earlier on how I don't understand how that works. Because it's not really a buffet if you can only take a certain amount. But then I guess it kind of is if there's a large variety. But it's a good afternoon at this stage in Johannesburg at Alice Park. A few students in attendance for this game, which is fantastic to see. Of course, the South African youngsters doing very well and their trip to Georgia. And also, we've seen a few youngsters named in Rassi's first training squad for 2026. That has taken place throughout this week, I believe, between about the 3rd of March to the 6th. Do you like pasta and lasagna and pizza? I don't mind pasta. Lasagna I've never really been into, which I know will make people annoyed. But, yeah, I don't know. I've never really been a lasagna guy. But I do like pizza, though. And thanks, Philip. Let's go. Boys, both good local teams. South Africa, yeah, best one to win. Says Ruth. And mustache meets food. Says Ruby there. Dangerous backline here for the Lions. Angelo Davids, Killian Peku, Kjuan Horn. And then also that midfield combination of Bronson Mills and Henko van Wyk, which has been building nicely throughout the last few games for the Lions. Howdy all, says Jan. We did see the win for the Lions just recently up against the Sharks, although the game prior to that, they did lose by quite a margin up against the Bulls. And Halant playing guy is brutal. He's a very interesting player, Warakalant. He will either give you a 10 out, or probably a 9 or 10 out of 10, or he gives you a 2. And if he gives them a 2 here, the Stormers may struggle. I know that they are waiting the return of Damian Valimza, same with no Reinach at the moment in the Stormers team. Ruth, says Ruby. And Mills to spill over the line, says Ruth. What is your favourite pizza and pasta? Pizza, you got a bit of variety, but then so does pasta. It's actually a hard one. The Italians have come up with a lot of good stuff, haven't they? Playing some good rugby too. At the moment, they are going head-to-head with England next week in the Six Nations. Got the bye week this week, but straight back into it for 7 days' time. But JD Schickerling He's going to be in charge of the Stormers side, I believe, has been given the captaincy, and that's quite good news, I feel, for Sasha Feinberg and Zulu. It takes a bit of that pressure off, allows the youngster to play his natural game, which can be extremely dangerous when he's getting it right. Wales will beat the Box, says the meme is dead. That would, I mean, they've been losing to a lot of other teams, so if they were somehow to beat South Africa, that would be absolutely huge for them. But it would take a big old effort to get past the Box at this stage. For the Welsh, we have got there Hamish. Pizza Hamish. You can get a tasty, spicy, or cheesy one, says Ruth. That's true, but surely you can do the same with pasta, right? And a game where I don't care who wins, says Jasmine. I guess that makes it nice and easy, doesn't it? Means that you can just enjoy the rugby. If you do you have the URC TV, Jasmine? I know that for a few Kiwis, they decided after TVNZ dropped the licensing that they wouldn't pick up another subscription. And hello, Hamish. Great to have 2 games today, says Sue. Yeah, it's fantastic to see the 2 South African derbies taking place back-to-back. Can't think of the last round that they both played. It's been at least a month, hasn't it? Maybe early February might have been the last time we had 2 head-to-head games involving South African sides on the same day. I think Dylan Mutt just having a bit of a conversation there about the sun. There is going to be a bit of that to deal with early on in this match. No, just found a stream. Says Jasmine. And as we get the cool story, bro. And I have roast beef and mustard pizza. Is that like a burger pizza type situation? Mustard on a pizza. I can only think of, like, you know how they try and bring out those experimental pizzas, but kick off now for the Stormers. Just while we're making everyone hungry, we're around the afternoon stage in South Africa, going to be nicely taken off the kickoff by Daddy and Landsberg. Already told you, the referee's not messing around. Mono Fundenberg had that ball in the ruck for about 1 second, then got screamed at. Down to the halfway line, Kelly and Peku chasing that one hard. Oh, looking for the risky offload there. I don't think the man was ready for it, but it sits up for Watercalant. I might go cook me some eggs, says Jasmine. Whereas the streaming bro says Dion Adams for us here in New Zealand. Oh, sorry, that's not Dion. That's Dean. My apologies. But yeah, here in New Zealand, it's on URC TV. But it is like a season pass. That's a knock-on from Evan Russ. Will be now the scrum feed for the Lions. Starting the same way that the Lions were having in that game up against the Sharks with a lot of scrums early. I've been bedridden all day from my hangover. No more alcohol from today onwards. Probably not a bad choice, although we have had a lot of people say that, and then they normally are back drinking the next week. But yeah, it's a tricky one. Lasagna, macaroni cheese, and moussaka. What's moussaka? I'm not sure what that is. Is that like a South African thing? Or is that a dish that I should know that I'm just being dumb? I'm going to we're going to go with the Stormers for the sake of South Africa, says Cool Story Sharks. Although, wouldn't you love to see 4 South African sides in the quarterfinals? And for that to happen, the Lions do kind of need this win. That's a big scrum there. Lions get themselves the early penalty, and that is without Clubber Kanye in their front row. That's quite the statement made against Untutuku Machunu. He's got himself a couple Springbok caps to his name. As Ruiz on the same level as a Colby, or still a mile away? I'd say still a mile away. There aren't many people on the same level as Chisel and Colby around the world of rugby. But also very different players. If you had gone like a Peter Steph du Toit, then still nowhere near him, but would have been an easier comparison to make. And good point, Hamish, you've changed my mind, kind of. Says Cool Story. Beautiful herbs in there. Looks like it is going to be the line-out throw for PJ Botha. Currently 2 minutes 20. Oh, he hesitated. Why is the ref? Yep, no, he has now given away the free kick. And the Stormers decide to kick this one straight downfield from Lelion Zasset. Altitude, he's given that a fair old amount. As a Hamish Craig from St. Francis Bay, Eastern Cape Town. South Africa's back. Says Craig there. Yeah, I hope you are excited for the 2 South African derbies back-to-back. For today, who is better, Rus or Buckius Botha in his prime? You'd probably still go Bacchius, wouldn't you? Don't get me wrong, Rus has a lot of potential. But at the same time, Rus can't do what Buckius did because he has too many cameras on him nowadays. But now, Klikane in the middle of the field. It looks like Mone Vandenberg is going to go for this kick up high. And that one's going to be knocked back onto the side of JD Schickerling. In fact, it was Ben Jason Dixon with the bright red headgear today. Does with some rugby whilst war is happening right now. Says, yes, someone mentioned about that earlier. I didn't even know it was happening. Now, loose bouncing ball. Nice take from Bronson Mills. Just keeps it in the field of play, but a charge down of the kick from Zas. I'll go back now for another knock on. It is the Lions scrum. Were me and Annie prepared for a big braai tomorrow evening, says Bruce. And who are the favourites in this game? I believe the Stormers came in as slight favourites. Not by much, though. But yeah, slight favourites in their favour for this match. The other match is supposed to be a little bit more one-sided. The Sharks come in as big underdogs for that game. Do you know what's going on, or must I tell you? I don't actually know. But I also don't know how much of it YouTube will let you write. But $1.47 favourites the Stormers compared to $2.60 Lions. So about 65% in terms of those odds. I'm South African and I can't even roll my R's like you can, says Inferno. And then I couldn't roll it the one time I tried there. Now Mone Vandenberg. It's the ball into the scrum. Stormers haven't really got out of their half as of yet. Just USA went into Iran, that's all. Says Inferno, and you think the enforcer role is no longer used in rugby because of cameras? To a certain extent, because the thing is, you can't get away with anything nowadays, and when you try to, it just doesn't work out because there's that many cameras showing each breakdown. There's even times where, you get accused of squeezing a man's scrotum. There's no camera footage of it, and you get a 9-week ban. Now, that's not a situation that I experienced. Let's just ask Jan Hendrik Wessels about how that one goes. In the old days, you could squeeze a testicle, no one would know. Now, passed out wide. It's gone through the hands of Kelly and Peku. Going to be the line out now for the Lions. Line out for the Stormers, I should say. And Rassi Erasmus says Xander. Hi, Bruce and Annie, says Philip. Yeah, just the bounce for Kelly and Peku out wide. And Ball Squeezer, who was that again? Did you give a red card, says Mohdeen? Me give a red card? I mean, I probably would for a ball grab, to be fair. And, I feel like footage of what would land up in a certain website, says Inferno, and come on the Stormers. Looks like Sashi had a little bit of an injury concern there. Nothing too serious, though. Back up. And walking around nicely. The French are still busting nuts in the rucks, says Neil. Though I'm a fetish's food in rugby. But this will be the line out for the Stormers. Some much needed possession at this stage of the match. Already a bit of a drinks break here. I feel like that's a little bit early. Referee is trying to kind of push them along now. Only been playing for 5 minutes. Already taken the break. They'll probably do the 20-minute water break anyway here for the two sides as well. Maybe you need a medal, says Ruth. And imagine back in the day, that was your specific role in the forward pack to hashtag squeeze balls. That'd be a hard one to describe to people, wouldn't it? That's gone into touch on the full from the Stormers. Stephen Nkura apologises to his teammates. As now the Lions will have another line out coming. And Joe Chicken Burgers and mayonnaise lunch here, says Ruth. Another line out throw. PJ Bota gets it into the back. Chris Smith, that almost looked forward to Klikane. Low tackle made from Paul de Villiers. Klikane gets back up to his feet. He was held. He looks a little bit confused at the moment and now almost looked like he wanted to start a bit of push and shove there. I don't know whether that's just release the ball next time you get up, is the comment there from the referee. What's your prediction today? Well, the Stormers have looked a little bit shaky, but that's understandable. They haven't played rugby for a month. The Lions, what? Sasha's going to go for a 60-metre kick here. I know they're at altitude, but Sasha's got a sore back. He was holding it before, and he's just decided, you know what? We'll test out the spine, and we'll try and boot the ball as hard as I can from 60 metres from the post. What do you think about Buffer Klikani? Seems like a player with a bright future. Still learning his craft, though. I feel like there's still a few things that he does get a little bit wrong, but then that's something that Rasi, of course, will slowly take out of his game. Now, Feinberg Ngumazulu, I should say, sorry. This one's from 60 metres out. The crowd are booing him. He's smiling about it too, but he strikes it well. And it goes away to the left-hand side. Plenty of distance, though. That one probably went about 80 metres off the kicking tee. I think Sasha was just asking the question to one of his teammates whether or not he had the height on it, and he certainly did. He'll kick with the boot, not the back. Yeah, although that's all connected in terms of the rotation. You build up your power in your core. Lefty says Ruth. Anger like Stormers from a Shark supporter, says Clifton. Hamish, my first girlfriend tried to crush my rugby balls. I shouldn't have been involved with her. Right. Okay, well, that's unfortunate in some regards. I have a shed. Not really. Well, it's like a storage unit, and it has about 15 rugby balls in it that I, at some stage, should really get out. Where to watch says, Mig, depends on where you are in the world. If you're in South Africa, the option is Super Sport. If you're in New Zealand, it's on URC TV. In Australia, I think it's also URC TV. And then in Ireland, I think it's free to air on TG4, I want to say. I can also hit my driver very far to the left or right of the fairway, says Ruby. Still sitting 0-0 between these two sides after the 10 minutes or so. That was the first attempt of being able to add points. Sasha just missing it away to the left-hand side. Wasn't any problem with the distance, though. I feel like is a good sign, but now it is a scrum feed here for the Lions. About 30 metres out from their try line. And both front rows go down. Have another reset. That's happening quite a bit at the moment around the world. And I know that the scrums have been a big talking point throughout the last maybe 2 weeks or so. Some people wanting to get rid of them. Some people saying that they should be sticking around. I feel like you've got to find that happy medium. No one wants 20 scrums, but we want some scrums, of course. In a game of rugby. Now, 10 minutes in. Looking to get over again here, the Lions. Just like they did last week multiple times. Up against the Sharks. Golf is very strange. It is. Sometimes you can think you're the best golfer in the world, and other times you just don't want to be there. You know, there's always a pond somewhere to hit a ball into. And if you're not playing good golf, you always find it. Now, big scrum again here from the Lions pack, forcing the front row of the Stormers up, but they're being told to use it without any advantage. Kieran Horn passes away to Henko. Fun fake cutting back inwards. Tackle in the middle of the field from Jonathan Roach, but straight back up to his feet, springing up was Henko Fun fake. Morne Vandenberg goes across this Chris Smith. Kieran Horn, skip pass now to Frankie Horn. Bit of space for him. Angelo Davis cuts back inwards. Pace shown by the X7 superstar. Angelo Davis 5 metres out from the line for the Lions here. 2 men though in the breakdown for the Stormers. Almost getting the steal. Bronson Mills driven backwards. And the penalty to the Stormers. Diving in off the feet. I believe it was Kieran Horn that time who's been penalised. I just hold on to the ball. It's simple, says Inferno. And come on the Lions, says Ruth. And there too. This game is on TG4 free to view here in Ireland, but otherwise the game is on Premier Sports. Says Hori, but it was a huge shot initially on Bronson Mills and then just sealing off against Kieran Horn. That wasn't the worst sealing off we've seen, to be fair. He just went a bit too far forward. I'd love to know from which nationalities the comments come from. What country are you from? Says Craig. I think we're predominantly South African at this stage, although we have got someone stuck in Brazil. So that's a country that we don't normally have covered geographically too much. As whether your side, it's been all right. It was high UV today, was what we were told. So like good sunburn weather. But overall, wasn't too bad. It's almost getting to the stage of maybe hoodie weather. But I'm just trying to delay it. Sasha Feinberg and Zulu looking for the 50-22. Back covering was Angelo Davids though. Now fires it back into Morne Vandenberg. Isn't that a good strike? A very good strike indeed. Sasha decides that he wants to take it quickly. India, says Joe. One kicks high by Sasha. Goes up uncontested for it as well. Thought about offloading to Nkura, but couldn't quite link up with him. Back across to the right-hand side. I do also believe that a lot of these guys are wearing their schoolboy socks, which I think is why they also had their schools that they represented. It was played on the ground from the Lions. I think they're going to rule it as a knock-on anyway. Either myself, says Holry. And from Kuri Roa. But it's just on the ground. Yeah, the knee's down for Tini Ustahazen, so he didn't really have rights to that ball. Possession at the moment, though, 65% in favour of the Lions compared to the 35% of the Stormers, so a little bit one-sided in that statistic, but of course still plenty of time for that to change. Only 13 minutes through thus far. A couple interesting games of this round. So the low-scoring affair between Cardiff and Leinster, and with the battle happening at the top of the table at the moment, every point is crucial. Territory, 72% in favour of the Lions as well. This is Cape Town, says Inferno. Sky getting darker here, black clouds overhead. Does anyone, I know that we've got some people from Cape Town, is anyone from the kind of Loftus and Pretoria area? We got anyone close to Loftus and knowing the weather report for later on? Nkura told to use. Off to the left, Jonathan Roach. Oh, he doesn't quite link up. Although thought about going for the pass. Now Nkura goes to Evan Ruiz. Who's on the bench for the Stormers? You're blocking those names. Hang on, we'll go like that. That'll squeeze me small enough so that you can see. They have got Imar Khan, Yuri Matia, Marcel Tennyson, Zachary Porthen, Conor Evans, Diamani, and also Andre Hugafenta and Matongo. There's a knock-on from the Stormers side again. Seems like at the moment both sides are actually struggling a little bit handling-wise. All I know, that area is wet, says Inferno. Also, they had a bit of rain round Loftus lately. Hopefully not too slippery. We're so far seen 7 handling errors in the first 15 minutes of this game. Oh, it's in March now here? Or it's March now, yeah. Yeah, we're already into the 3rd month, which is a little bit insane. As in Joburg and Pretoria right next to each other, says Neil. Maybe. I'm not that great with my geography when it comes to South African places. I'm going to shuffle. Oh, that was the green screen trying to collapse. Hang on. Go like that. It's going to behave itself. Right, that's a little bit better. I was slouching throughout those Super Rugby streams and I could tell that I was going to be feeling it tomorrow. That's going to be a scrum reset again. And the sum of that side of South Africa, so everything on the right half of this country is thunderstorms nearly every day. Cape Town on the left side of the country is Mediterranean weather. Okay. See a little bit of a split system. Nice t-shirt. Shave Hamish going on a date. Somewhat. Me, George and Daniel, 2 of the other Kiwi lads, for anyone who doesn't know those names. We're going to a buffet for dinner tonight. It's not a date though. But we're just going to see if we can find one. Not the date, buffet. How's the game been so far? Drops is the best way of describing it. 7 handling errors throughout the first 15 minutes. Free kick goes the way of the Lions. But yeah, it's been a bit scrappy. They did have a chance to add the 3 points there, the Stormers, but were unable to earlier with Sasha's kick. But yeah, it feels like someone's going to score soon. I have 2 dates every day. Says Jasmine. I'm close to Loftus, Pretoria. No rain expected today. Partly sunny all day long. Says Sol. What type of temperature, Sol, are you expecting there? Because I know that there's been some relatively warm games. This one looks like it's one of those 2. They'll probably get a 20-minute water break halfway through it. And I have a pretty good view of Pretoria from my hilltop perch. The maybe clouds coming in, but they're not dark clouds yet. Typical late afternoon thunderstorm weather. It's usually done and gone. Colby or Loney? Who is Loney? Is that a nickname of a player that I should know that I don't? Oh, that ball hasn't come out. for the Stormers, so it will be another scrum feed for this Lions side. I think about half of the 17 minutes has been just occupied with scrums. Watching from the 254 Kenya behind the Stormers says Joshua. Of course, the Kenyan Sevens, they are going to be in action in the next 3 weeks or so. Rico Ioane, sorry, terrible spelling. Oh, yeah, no, I can see it now that I know who you're after. It also looked like an L, so that's what probably set me up a little bit. But, so like, as in like, who's better or just who do I prefer? I know Rico seems to be enjoying his time at Leinster, but Colby, he's chiseling Colby, isn't he? I'm making it more exciting, please, Hamish. Annie falling asleep here. She dropped her phone. Sadly, we've had too many scrums. Like, we need some sort of break or a bit of open play. And we haven't actually had that since about the 5th minute. And it's got to the stage how both teams, because of the frequency of scrums, it's led to a few of the caretakers coming on the field and trying to patch some of the divots while they're about to set for their next scrum. JC Mars is better than Dylan Mart, says Illicit there. Hamish, when you decide to come, Durban is hot and humid and Cape Town is hot and dry. Why are the Stormers not playing JC Mars? Yeah, there's a few players missing in their mix for this game. Right, Morne Vandenberg to feed the scrum in. So far, we've had 22 minutes since kickoff for 17 minutes of gameplay. But that one's going to go out. Oh, no, it's a penalty to the Stormers. But luckily, I don't think they'll pick the scrum. I believe this one will be kicked towards the sideline and we will get a line out. Sides normally are quite scrappy, relatively warm, but on the decreasing measure. Okay, so that's quite handy. Thank you for that information. Hopefully they don't need that 20-minute water break in between if it is cooling down. Stormers bossing that scrum, says Neil. And Yummy says, cool story. Where is Buckius? When you need him to break something, says Ruby. Penalties conceded at the moment. 3 against the Lions, 1 against the Stormers. Once again, just waiting for that next big moment here in the game. Feel like it hasn't hit us just yet. Thrown in. Nicely taken and now rolling this one quite nicely towards the 22. Coming back out. It's spinning around a little bit. I think it's JJ Kutsia with the ball. It has now gone down. And it's very very nutritious. That's why they want to ban the scrum. Scrappy game. Says Neil. Oh, nice run from Sasha, though. Yeah, see, I don't think they should ban scrums. I think that if you get to too many scrum resets, it should just be a free kick and they should get on with it, because that's happening quite a bit at the moment. How you have 3 resets in a row and the game reaches a 5-minute where nothing happens. But at the same time, it gives the players a bit of a spell, doesn't it? 20 minutes, no score. All drop kick now for Sasha. That's gone about 2 meters off the ground. In fact, that's turned into a grubber from Sasha Feinberg and Zulu. That will roll all the way dead. And it will now be a scrum for the Lions. I'll be watching you do Bulls versus the Sharks. Is Kolisi playing? He is not playing, but it's going to be a great game between those two sides, or at least I hope it is. Looks like they're actually going to go goal line dropout here. 22 dropout. Player injured in the middle of the field too, so this is another stoppage. Back up to his feet now for SJ Kutsia. I believe they'll take the water break because of the altitude difference, says Inferno. All right, referee is said to hurry up and keep on playing now for these two sides. Kjuan Horn gets some very good distance on his 22 dropout. It's actually gone into the 22 of the Stormers. Sasha's there, runs it out. So this one now has to find someone's hands. Kjuan Horn does take it on. No, in fact, it's Chris Smith. Goes with the up and under. Never see Carter drop like that. There's levels to this, says Neil. Now, Wadaka Land trying the low, skiddy kick. It will go into touch. Another line out for the Lions. 20 metres. Roughly 20 metres out from the 22. And just showing there that he had a contract with Racing back in 2022 and 23 for Watercalant. A 0-0, is this a football match? Yeah. The thing that I had hoped we wouldn't see for these two sides is exactly what we have seen from these two sides. Because I mentioned it on the Super Rugby stream. I said I really hope that we don't end up with a bunch of handling errors early with no tries. And that's what we've had so far. But it only takes one to completely change the momentum of the game. Now, again, the box kick from Morne Vandenberg. And going up for it, nicely taken by the Lions, getting this one offloaded across, and this should be the try. We jinxed it with the commentator's curse, and it is Mahashi who scores. That's good from the Lions. They needed that moment just to give them that little bit of confidence, and they have done just that. Mahashi, though, I believe he scored last week up against the Sharks as well. Someone scored already, and they just managed to for the Stormers side. And was to rush the Matador right out of the door. And also watching Super is so much better than the URC, says Neil Best. It depends on the game. I love watching both of them. This game has been a slow starter, though. And shame we're the fans, says Inferno. I think they're on this near side in the shade, strategically being stun smart. And also Paul de Villiers will Ben Jason Dixon to stay on the starting team when Khaleesi joins the Stormers. Yeah, it's a tricky one because I think that Paul de Villiers has been doing really well making that 6 jersey his own. But now, you look at Khaleesi and they'll probably chuck him straight into the 6. So whether de Villiers becomes a bench impact player or they transition him to 7, I think he's likely to be the guy who misses out on the starting minutes department. Food Lovers Grocery Store got crazy deals this week. I think that's where all the fans went to, says Inferno. The kick has gone over from Chris Smith as well. He doesn't miss often. It makes the score 7-0 now in favour of the Lions. This is where they need to just keep this momentum flowing. Stormers' recent record up against South African sides has not been great. 2 losses to the Sharks. Close game with the Bulls, although they did finish off with the victory in that one. To use it again for Vandenberg. Yeah, the ref's relentless. Bench Peter Stiff says, listen, you're talking internationally. I was thinking more for the Stormers next year. I don't think anyone's benching Peter Stiff. Definitely not when you've got Quaka Smith as the option off the bench to use as well. Hybrid and Andre Esterhazen. Oh, loose ball. How's he done that? Angelo Davids has just done the perfect pass to his teammate. And I think it was slapped kind of out of his hand by the Stormers player into the pass. But it worked. It did certainly help the Lions get a little bit more go forward. Morne Vandenberg. Across to Chris Smith. Cut out pass to Kelly Mpeku. Had to go down on his knees to be able to take that one. A little bit of a low pass. Oh, ball is out. So Sasha manages to grab it, but he gets wrestled into touch by Vandenberg. Another line out now for the Lions. That Brazilian viewer stole my Bitcoin. Says 420. And in my heart, I'm a Lions fan, but in my fridge, I'm a fish and chicken fan. Well, there you go. Oosterhuizen come on score. Says Ruth. I think the Stormers are the only team that give free flags at home games. I did see at the Brumbies game today in Super Rugby, everyone had a cap with the Brumby on it. I don't know whether or not that was for like the people who were members or if you bought a certain seat, you got a free cap. But there were like hundreds of the Brumbies caps out in the stands. PJ Borta throws this one in. Nice take from Daddy and Landsberg. Agree with you, Hamish. If they cancel scrums, they kill rugby union. It is an integral part of the game. Yes, stop the frequent restarts with a free kick after 2 restarts. Yeah, see, like, just getting rid of scrums completely, I don't think it works. Tell you what, that might have worked for the Lions. I think Kelly Mpeku might have knocked it on, but if he hasn't, it's another try to the Lions here. Massive smiles on the Lions coaches' faces. It's Henku van Wyk. Does get that. But I think they'll just make sure that Kelly Mpeku didn't knock this one on. Because it looked close to his hands. Going to see the replay now. He kicks it forward. It hit someone. I don't know if it was us or if it was Mpeku, but I think we're about to find out. Oh, again, Hamish go the Stormers. The ref needs a taser to get the boys to scrum properly. But yeah, like the occasional scrum's not bad. And I think that actually is, like you said, an important part of a game of rugby union and what makes it rugby union. But it's just that trying to stop 3 minutes for each scrum, which is hard to do. And you can hear the referee going, come on, boys, let's get this one moving. But then, reset. They have to stand back up, 30 more seconds gone. Another reset, another 30 seconds to a minute missing from the contest. Now, the Lions, they are 14-0 up in this match, ladies and gentlemen. They have come out firing for this game in front of the home crowd, and they really do believe that top 8 is on the cards in terms of the potential finish. Now, kicked off. We'll need 2 more tries for the bonus point here. Pollock or Quagga. I think if it was a battle of selfies, it would be Pollock. When the Box in England play, I hope and I know that Quagga will run him over. Says the meme is dead. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about Pollock playing in South Africa. And I think for the sake of the ones who have said how poorly he's going to play, they really need him to have a bad game. Because or else I don't think we're ever going to hear the end of it on either side of the Pollock situation until the World Cup, where they may face each other at some stage, England and South Africa. But, if he has a good game and scores a try or 2 in South Africa off the bench, because that's probably where they're going to use him, there's going to be a lot of talk from both sides of the equation. Offload there from Lelion Zas. 25 metres out. Nkura goes to Sasha. Wasn't the best pass, and behind, I believe it was Array Smith who managed to shovel it on, though, to Intatuka Machunu. Now Roach skip past Lelion Zas. Not a lot of space. It's going to be slapped back by the Lions. Managed to take their ball back. You mean ET in the club? Sounds about right. Why don't you refer the game in the World Cup? Why don't you... I assume you're saying referee the game in the World Cup. I'd much rather not. Referee, I think, is one of the worst jobs to have in the world. Because you could get everything 100% right, and people would say that you're wrong. You could call a game completely by the law book, and no one would agree that you've done it correctly. So, it would suck being a ref, I can tell you that. Right now, I blame the 90s for making things seem nice. Says cool story. Not too bad in Kazakhstan now, only minus 19. Oh, that's much better than your minus 32 or whatever it was the other day. And Tutuka Machuna just getting a little bit of attention to his eye. This will bring another stoppage. And that's one thing that I do think Super Rugby have done a little bit better than the URC in some regards, is if there's an injured player, if they're not involved in what's going on, they just say, he can stay down. And you can either take him off or you continue playing. Once again, about 30 seconds waiting for the scrum. Yolo Hamish. How are you? Says Stormsy. Doing very well. Hope you are doing well too. Currently 29 minutes through this game. The Lions have come out in a very quick fashion. It took us about 23 minutes before seeing a try. And then from there, bang, bang. 2 in a row for this Lions team. He was a Mormon American with French and South African roots. Completely crazy dude. Who are we talking? A guy called Etienne Turblanche. I've never heard of him. Scrum feed. Once again, referee says, let's go, boys. The time has now been turned back on. They look like Magnum PI and big mustache, much older than me, says Ruth. Now Stephen Nkura. Is this where the Stormers can start to mount some sort of offense, get themselves back into the contest? I don't think they necessarily want to be down by 14 at half time, but anything within that, maybe one more try, I think that probably gets them in a very good spot. Across to the right, Evan Russ trying to cut inwards. Almost managed to get the turnover there for the Lions, but JJ Kutsia hits it up. What's one thing you prefer from rugby league over rugby union? Oh. Oh, that's a good run. One moment, Similani goes straight through. He gets held up, though, by Morne Vandenberg, who tucked in underneath him and stopped him from scoring. That is brilliant work from Morne Vandenberg. And now the two sides are having a bit of push and shove. We're already playing under penalty advantage, though. Yeah, I think rugby league-wise, I do like the set pieces that they go. Like, yes, we get a few set pieces in rugby union. Unless you're talking about, like, laws and whatnot, maybe. But I think it's just the quick nature of league, too. There's hardly any stopping. You know, like, every once in a while you have the interchanges and you have a player down and whatnot. But it's just rapid. Everything's always happening. And I feel like that's something that, you know, people, in comparison to American football, that's always the one that gets made with rugby. And the more stoppages we get, the more it gets towards that NFL style. So they've been working hard on the URC as well as Super Rugby to try and just push the tempo. And I feel like that's something that league does well. What happened to the Stormers, says Mohadeen. They're not out of it yet. They've just started slow. We've got to remember they haven't played for a month, whereas the Lions played last week. So the Lions were always theoretically going to go a little bit better. Super Rugby missed the South African teams. I prefer Super Rugby for our teams, says Cobus. And now another stoppage. What's happened here? Referee having a conversation with JD Schickerling. As long as we don't see adverts every time they stop, we good. Yeah, I think in the Six Nations, every scrum on, was it BBC they were doing the ads in between? You enjoy your party, don't be drunk. Hamish and drive home. It's not really a party, it's just the three of us Kiwi lads going to a buffet. But it might be unsuccessful, to be fair. Vandenberg, excellent tackling. I don't find him funny at all, says Craig. Funnier than Eddie Murphy, who we're talking about, the fella from ages ago. And even though the South Africans could be good at league, or ever thought the South Africans could be good at league, I 100% have, and they almost qualified for the Rugby League World Cup if it wasn't for their loss to the Cook Islands. But they were completely self-funded to get their knock on from the Stormers. But it's still the case how Rugby League receives no support whatsoever. So they have to pave their own way. They had to pay for their flights and accommodation to be able to play and have a potential chance of making the Rugby League World Cup. But they look like a decent team in some of their qualification matches. It's just still a very kind of taboo type of game to play in South Africa. And happy birthday, says Inferno. What time is it in New Zealand? At the moment, it is 2:08 a.m. So a bit of a late night for us Kiwis. We are on to our fourth live stream of the day. I am starting to certainly feel it. Do you eat fish and chips or fried chicken and chips? I mean, probably fish and chips more out of those two. I would say just another drinks break. Two players down with injuries here. Looks like Sunday is struggling as well as Oosterhuizen. Well, that was a good catch from Roach. They actually caught that on the camera, how it was a terrible throw of the water bottle. There are a few highlights on YouTube of South Africa Rugby League clubs playing with each other, says Stormzy. And yeah, even looking for like the South African side who were trying to qualify, it seems to be hidden a little bit, which is weird. But yeah, it still seems to be, because imagine if some of these union guys, I know that they wouldn't because they're not really allowed to, but imagine seeing someone like a Peter Steph playing rugby league, or having someone like even the guys like a Dylan Mart playing in this game, a Henko van Wyk. Guys like that would probably do pretty well in the league circuit, but they can't, unfortunately. So Africa will say we're bringing rugby into the country. I don't know why, says Alyssa. And most of the clubs are from Pretoria. At least that's what I think. And Peter Steph versus Payne Haas. That would be pretty intense. I think Duan van der Merwe will join South Africa. Will he stay at Scotland? If he does, will he start? I think he'll stay at Scotland. And do you get stopped in the street like Brad Pitt by now, Hamish? No need to be modest. I'm sure it happens. It doesn't. Not really, no. I think the last time I was slightly recognised would have been a good year ago or so. But then the time before that was actually from my voice. They hadn't actually watched any of the commentary. They had listened to me play Rugby 25 and they thought that I sounded familiar. Do you like the braai? We don't really braai too much here, unfortunately. I do love a good barbecue, though, which I know people will say it's not the same, but can't go wrong with the barbecue either. Another penalty at scrum time. Me, rugby is more possession, league is more territory. Says Jasmine. Yeah, that's probably a fair point. How's it, Hamish? Says Sakile, welcome in. People would know you in my house, says Cool Story. Sasha gets it into touch. 20 metres out from the line here. The Stormers still with a good chance of being able to get back into this game by the halftime stage. Some really good support in the stands for these South African sides too. And do you eat a whole Gatsby? I've never had a Gatsby. I've heard good things. Are you going to watch tomorrow opening game of the NRL in Vegas? I'm hoping to watch a replay. I won't get to watch it live, unfortunately, as I'll probably still be asleep from that stage after doing the all-nighter now. But, yeah, I'll definitely be giving it a look in the replays. Now, Roach is going to be turned around there. And a good tackle made. Oh, and the Tuku Machunu knocks that one on. That's the thing that's hurt the Stormers throughout this game. Every time they get the attack, it's just that last handling error that has been shooting them in the foot. Oh, another handling error there from Sasha. Now gets himself trapped inside of the 22. Tries to step through. Morne Vandenberg handles him. Loose ball from Sasha. Straight to Henko van Wyk. And a huge clean out in the breakdown from the Lions. Stephen and Curran not happy at the moment. Looks like there's a bit of an injury here for Ben Jason Dixon too. He's quite slow getting back to his feet, but Sasha put himself under immense pressure after fumbling that ball. Then offloaded it straight into the hands of the Lions. Another injury, so we're going to have another stoppage. Jeez, there's been a lot of them in this game. That's about the 10th injury now. Everyone's been able to continue who's been injured. It does bring a few more stoppages into the match too. Van Wyk. Pakistan will lose, says Stranger. They kind of have to if New Zealand want any chance of going through. Score under 55, big win for score under 55. Well, at the moment, it's looking all right because we've only seen the 2 tries. At this point in time, how do you feel about the break from the Six Nations? As in, like, just this week? I don't mind it. I feel like you got to give those players a bit of a spell. It's a pretty brutal schedule for them. But it also is quite cool because we get a bit of the URC in between. To Pakistan win, they haven't played yet. I think the coverage has started for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get live for that. And I'm just going to stick it in the corner so that I can keep updated with it while the match is taking place. For anyone who doesn't know, South Africa have already qualified for the group stage of the the semi-final of the Cricket World Cup. England are also qualified. But currently there's a bit of unknown involving New Zealand, India, and the West Indies. Now, if Pakistan end up winning by, I believe it's mid-60 runs, it would mean that New Zealand are knocked out. So, it's a bit of interestingness still coming up. South Africa already beating New Zealand in the T20 group stage. 2 sides that sadly do have the reputation of struggling in playoff cricket. But maybe, just maybe, could somehow see them both be in the final. India will win the World Cup. They have to make sure they beat the West Indies first, because if they don't, they're out, which would be massive, definitely because Sri Lanka already out of the host World Cup too. Peter Jackson gets all the babes in New Zealand. That's why so many guys are single there. Did you know, or do you do watch-alongs for the T20 World Cup? We did try for last, or the one beforehand. We got a copyright strike for it, but I'm thinking about doing the semi-finals and the final, seeing as it doesn't overlap with anything. Another knock on here, this time from the Lions. And it is going to mean that the Stormers have got the scrum. What happens if the West Indies win tomorrow? Then they would be through to the next stage. And hi, everyone. Come on the Stormers, win this game for us. And also come on the Stormers, says Eileen. Yeah, Stormers probably don't mind the stop-start nature of this game so far. Gives them just a bit more time to regroup, re-strategize. What time is Sevens next week? Nothing confirmed yet. I know it's in Vancouver, so the time zone of Vancouver will be when the matches are taking place, but I'm not 100% sure of what time they will be starting and finishing on each of the days. Now, fed in for the scrum. Oh, that one's come back back out a little bit. I think they're still going to be able to hook it, or do they? No, both front rows go up and we're going to have another scrum reset. This would be an interesting game to get a stopwatch. And every time we have a scrum, click the start and then click it every time that they stop the scrum. Because I think we've had 15 minutes of scrums here, which is not ideal. Probably good for the players though, because this is one of those games that they will need that energy later on in the match. I think for the commentary says Eileen, no worries at all. We have still got the Bulls versus Sharks game just around the corner as well. Stormers need a storm of tries. They certainly do. Terrible scrum, says Ruth. I don't think I've seen so many scrum resets in quite some time. Like, eventually the referee's got to start penalising these guys. Rather than just going, oh, well, we'll give it another go and see if it works. It says the Springboks are back in the Stormers team. The team plays so bad, says Martin. And look it up, baby, says Ruth. And there as well. Both packs standing up. Referee's still asking for control. He's got to start taking control of these scrums, though. Because if the players are doing it that wrong so many times, eventually you've got to say, look, boys, free kick, sort it out. 5 metres out from their own line here, the Stormers, with just the 2 minutes remaining in this first half. Steven Nkura just chucking that ball around at the moment. Waiting for the opportunity to feed it in. And now, scrum happens. A little bit of shakiness. The Stormers get themselves the scrum penalty. Changing the bind there against the Lions, so Sasha will be able to clear the Lions. Who's winning at the moment? The Lions are winning 14-0. And this contest, Rugby Union waste a lot of time. It's already a short game. They waste so much time for the scrum, says Stranger. Yeah, see, if it wasn't for the fact that it would take an extra 30 minutes, I'd love to see a time. Oh, Sasha missing touch. Another mistake from the Springboks 10. Chris Smith calls that he's going to be kicking this one high, so Angelo Davids will chase after it. Goes up. It's a good take from Sasha this time, though. Yeah, I'd love to see a time where scrums don't use up the clock. But I don't think that's something they'd do, because it would turn Rugby Union into a 2 hour and 15-minute type of matchup. Knock on from the Stormers. Guess what? We've got a scrum. I'm going to have to look on the URC website quickly and see how many scrums we've actually had in this game. And that will not be including scrum resets as well. Where are you watching the game? Watching on URC TV here in New Zealand. Why don't they block Hamish on YouTube? Who? Like Sansa? Stats. What do we got? Scrums. Yeah, see, it only has it registered as 4 scrums, 1 for each team, 1 scrum lost. So they've said 9 scrums, but that is not including the, probably not even exaggerating, the 10 resets that we have had throughout this first half. Sasha needs to take off, or needs to be taken off captaincy, at least, or be substituted. He's already taken off. I think JD Schickerling is the captain for the Stormers today. Our AFL game in Australia, not a single second is wasted. Oh, another penalty at scrum time, this time for the Lions. They stop the clock when the game is stopped. And Feinberg overrated, says Bruce. Now a chance for the Lions to be able to add the additional 3, and Chris Smith normally does not miss. He will definitely be looking forward to the chance of adding 3 more. Would end what would be considered as a slightly dominant half from the Lions. Just with the fact that they would be up by 17 points up against a side that are jockeying for that top 4 at the moment. Let's go, says Ruth. And if the Proteas make the final, imagine how skewed the odds will be with their choking record. The interesting thing, though, is... Oh, Chris Smith actually missed that one. What if it's New Zealand, South Africa? in the final. Two sides that have not got a great record. I think they'd almost put it as a 50-50 just because both sides have got the chance of just blowing it. I think you have Australia and New Zealand turning union into league. Says Sean. And Proteas as chokers, says Martin. And we've got the gifted membership. And there's, oh, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. That is from Tahir Rahim. Hopefully I said that correctly. And Proteas is chokers, says Martin, although they're doing all right so far. Sitting in a decent position as one of the favourites. Oh, so it ended up going to North Mum in the end. Saxashan put Hamish there, says Mohadan, and Proteas will never win, says Martin. Surely it's got to break at some stage, though, and perhaps this World Cup is the one that we could see them do it. But Pakistan versus Sri Lanka is just about to kick off, or start up, ladies and gentlemen, for the T20. There's also one taking place between West Indies and India tomorrow. And also, we are going to get to see Zimbabwe versus South Africa, although that game doesn't change anything. South Africa will still qualify top of their group, or at least the way that it does look. And the Alan Donald curse can't be broken. A very good pronunciation. Thank you very much. First half of this contest is down. Now just waiting for that second. The Proteas is like Island rugby, says Martin. Yeah, although the thing is, like, I say it each and every time too, this Proteas team at the moment, they should win the whole comp. I actually don't think there has been a South African side who have looked so competent to be able to win the whole thing for quite some time as well. You know, you look through at the bowling attack and it seems to be quite a well-rounded type of option for them. You've got the batters, Aidan Markram near the top of the order. You've got those younger guys coming through, Brevis in there. You've got the experience of de Kock. And then a pretty solid middle order. Like, it's their tournament to lose. Once again, crazy to say. And of course, if India go through to the next stage, that is something that could equal the odds a little bit. But they haven't even looked that flash, I don't think, throughout the tournament. They've been a bit up and down. Got the Lions, says Satana there. You're currently leading 14-0 up against the Stormers side. 2 tries early on, one for Mahashi, and also the other try was scored by Hinko van Wyk. They are fired, but what if they choke? And the Stormers seemingly have allowed errors to be part of their game. No standards, no attention to detail. How can a team drop the ball so consistently in such good conditions? Yeah, it's like, I'm not sure what the handling error count was, but it wasn't good. There was a stage throughout the first 15 minutes of this game that we had seen 7 handling errors combined from the two teams, which, like, you're always going to struggle to get any sort of momentum with that type of stat. I haven't got the exact stat, unfortunately, of how many handling errors there were, but yeah, they would have probably had 10 plus throughout that first half of the Stormers. The Lions had their fair few as well. Do you think Proteas will win against Zimbabwe? They should do. I'd be very surprised if they didn't. But again, unpredictable. This World Cup competition. New Zealand can win cricket if they start doing the haka, says Joe. And if the Proteas win, then Wales can win the World Cup in rugby. Anything's possible, says Martin. And Zulu was insane, says Craig. Question, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Fidelity or whatever the name is, Lions. They've got a new sponsor, I assume. How long ago did they move from being the Emirates Lions? Out of curiosity, because I still call them the Emirates Lions. But that's the Fidelity, I think, Lions now. And when is the semi-final and the final? I will tell you 1 second. And also didn't hit the ball. He tried to break it. The Bulls got the strongest team this season, so we will see. Says Satana. And yeah, they definitely need that win up against the Sharks. And then all of a sudden the table gets all that more interesting. I'll show you what it sits at currently. 1 second, we'll go like that. There we go. So currently the Bulls, they are in 8th. But as you can see, the Ospreys are right on their tail. The Sharks are right there. Edinburgh's there. Benetton's there. Connacht's there with the game in hand. Dragons and Scarlets, you think, might not quite have enough time to be able to get themselves boosted, but there's still, once again, a lot that can change. The near future, where is... There we go. So the semi-final is on Friday at 2:30 a.m. For the second one, and then Thursday 2:30 a.m. for the first one. So those timing-wise aren't actually that bad for me here in New Zealand. It might be one of those ones that I have to try and persuade people to let me take certain mornings off work to be able to cover them. But I think I'll be keen. And then the final is going to be taking place on the Monday morning. Not sure if there's an overlap yet. Are you doing the Munster match? I am not. Just the 2 games for the South African derbies today. But I will be watching that Munster game on replay afterwards. And the Currie Cup, a lot of these same players end up in high execution displays with plenty of points. I understand the URC defences are better, but it's the unforced errors that are the major issue. And it is affecting the start-stopness of these games too. Like, at the end of the day, like, they can only have less scrums if the teams are hanging on to the ball. You know, because that first half, again, similar to what we saw between the Sharks and the Lions last week, 15 minutes of that was just scrums and scrum resets. And then probably about another 5 minutes of it was trying to deal with lineouts and injuries. So, yeah, it does make it difficult. The next game, though, taking place between the Bulls and the Sharks, that is kicking off in an hour and a half's time, which I am going to be covering on the channel too. He's a pretty decent bowler, and Herschel Gibbs was a well good slogger. So it's Wednesday and Thursday by me. Yep, so that would be, I guess, 3:30 p.m. on Wednesday and 3:30 p.m. on Thursday. And Lions and Stormers game point should be under 55 because that will win me a huge win, 5K. Says Stranger. And also for short format, yes, Ruth. But Callis is the king of all-rounders in Test cricket. Yeah, he had quite the career. Jacques Callis. And some people still regard him as one of the best of all time just because of the fact that he was a batter and a bowler. Callis is the GOAT. Says Stranger and Province, let's go. Says Dale there too. Just showing those unforced errors of the Stormers when they got close to the goal line, just dropping it. The final moments. Are you doing the Sevens? I am hoping to. The Vancouver Sevens, it's going to be a hectic time because, of course, we've also got the Six Nations and the URC all taking place next week. I'll see what I can find. Have they done the Sevens schedule yet? Doesn't look like it, which is not ideal. URC is more exciting than Super Rugby or Super Pacifica competition. Are we talking specifically this game or just competition in general, Martin? Because if you're just talking this game, that one would be a strong disagree for now. This one's been far too stop-start. Definitely when we know how strong these two sides are. And we know what they can do. But this hasn't been their best at all, as of yet. Still second half, though. A lot of time to change it. Good night, guys. It's 12:28 a.m. Australia says, Stranger competition in all. Says Martin, yeah, I think it just depends on what style of rugby you enjoy. Because it's a bit similar to the ones who make the comparison to the top 14. Some people absolutely love that style. Some people don't. Premiership rugby, you know what you're going to get in that competition. Different to the URC again. Super rugby's different. Japanese top league's different. All in good ways. Because I feel like every competition, if it was all the same, no one would enjoy it. Or everyone would just go, this is getting a little bit repetitive. But with the fact that all of them are so different, it means that you never get sick of it. And we have got there, do South Africa play the Wednesday or the Thursday, says Mohadeen. Yet to be confirmed. But I'll have a look and see what I can work out. So South Africa, I assume, will finish top of their group. Well, if they lost to Zimbabwe, they wouldn't. More than likely, India or West Indies would overtake them. So, no guarantees yet, I don't think. South Africa better win the next URC, says the underdog pick. Did you see the Leinster match last night? I saw the score. I haven't actually watched that game yet. Although, I think if I'm going to watch it, I'll probably just skip through to watch the 15 points scored. Pakistan are batting first, ladies and gentlemen. So, the situation in that Cricket World Cup, for anyone who is following along with that as well, the Proteas have qualified as one of the teams through to the semi-finals. So have England. In Group 2, Pakistan need to win this game up against Sri Lanka by, I believe it's 63 runs. And if they do that, they knock New Zealand out of the World Cup. If they don't do it, and Sri Lanka either win or Pakistan don't win quick enough, the Kiwis will advance through the semi-finals. So low score says Mohideen. So low score, which one? For this game or for that Leinster match? Leinster match was the lowest we've seen in the URC in a long time in terms of points. South Africa better win the next URC. And Hamish, final score here, please. And who's getting the next 2 tries? I hope that the final score reaches mid-20s for both teams. But the Stormers still need a little bit of something to go their way. And mainly it is their own handling that they need to work out. Yes, Leinster, I assume that is from Mohideen. A goal for F1 is the perfect sleeping aid on a Sunday afternoon. Second half, the turf does look pretty ripped up. You can actually see where all the scrums have taken place from the aerial angle. They're doing their best to try and repair the pitch. It is not an easy job. The ground staff doing their absolute best. The stadium has had a few interesting games too. I believe it was it here that we had that game that was lightning strike affected, or was that in Cape Town? That might have been Cape Town actually. Where they did have about an hour delay. It looks like some people running out onto the field now. I don't believe that's the right players yet. When do you sleep? I will be sleeping after that Bulls versus Sharks game. So we've still got a little bit of time before the first, or the sleeping takes place. About probably 4.5 hours, somewhere around there. So I'll certainly be feeling it. I was already feeling a little bit tired near the mid-patch of this game. But I think we're fine now. The Thunder is rolling in here. And P-Town Hamish says Ruby. Right, there's a dot ball in the first ball of the cricket, so that's a good sign at the moment. But yeah, New Zealand have to hope that Sri Lanka get the win there, or they can restrict Pakistan to a low total. What games next week, brother? Says Mohideen. So the games next week are actually back to the Six Nations and also to Super Rugby. So these are the 5 games of the Super Rugby comp that will be taking place next week. Chiefs versus Moana Pacifica, Waratahs Hurricanes, Highlanders Force, Blues Crusaders should be a good one. And then Brumbies versus Reds also. A bit of an intriguing game. In terms of the URC, the next games that we get to see are in 2 weeks' time. Edinburgh versus Ulster, Connacht versus Scarlets, and then also the Bulls playing the Stormers. That is the Sunday morning game for us here in New Zealand at 1 a.m. And I believe that is when we're going to see it be a pretty hectic kind of schedule. It's kicked off now, start of the second half. We are back underway. Roach has the ball in hand for the Stormers. Now, Nkura goes to the short side to Ntutuko Machunu. Be quite intriguing to see when these teams are going to make their subs. And come on, folks, hit the like button. Subscribe to the Kiwi Lads commentary, says Ruth. All trying to slap that one back. He's landed on his face there, one of the Lions players, and they'll go back now, knock on. Oh no, in fact, it's going to be the penalty. The penalty and then offside. So that is normally ruled as accidental offside. That is something we see as a free kick in Super Rugby, but in the URC it is still the penalty. Regarding your viewers, do you pull better numbers by covering URC or Super Rugby Pacific? I think consistently, it depends. Super Rugby, we normally, I guess, if it's 2 South African sides playing each other, it will do about the same. But Super Rugby-wise, I think lately we've been getting more. But then, like, that doesn't discourage me at all from doing the URC. As you guys know, we do a stream even if there's 5 watching. Like, even if it's in the middle of the night as well. So, like, yeah, it's one of those ones that it goes up and down. Playoffs-wise, you know, you can get big numbers for one, and then some games won't quite fire. So it's just all just learning, really. Ireland playing Thursday or Friday next week. So they will be playing on Friday next week. They got the Saturday morning game up against the Welsh for us here in New Zealand. But, yeah, for you guys, it will be the Friday night. Same for the guys in South Africa in that regard. This game's still continuing on with the Stormers down by 14. And it's another penalty, this time awarded to the Stormers 15 metres out from the goal line. It's a big chance to add some points here. We'll wait to see what they decide to do with it. They could take 3. I don't know if 3 helps them that much, though, when you are down by the 14. They've taken the 3. Okay. Is there carry up this year? I believe there is. Looks like an injury here for, I think it's Mahashi. I can't quite see him past the doctor. That's Sasha. Is the shot at the post now from out in front. Sitting 0 from 1 today, but that one's a nice simple kick. Makes the score now 14 points to 3. The first points on the board for the Stormers in this matchup. Much to the crowd's delight. Just looking now. I think it was Mahashi who was injured. What time is the Island match next Friday? For us here in New Zealand, I believe it's a 9:10 a.m. So I'm not too sure what that is for you guys in Ireland. Maybe 10 p.m. I feel like that would be quite late though, wouldn't it? So maybe it's actually earlier. It might be maybe 9 or it could be 8. And that ball up is Evan Russ. When you do the Springboks game, or will you do the Springboks game this year? We certainly will be. I'll be covering as much international rugby on the channel as we can, including the Rugby League World Cup. Included in there too. Good clearing kick from Stephen Nkura. Right, JJ Kutsia has just been told don't do that by the referee. 44 minutes through. There's still more than enough time for the Stormers to start mounting that comeback. They're a good side. They've got a brilliant points differential. I don't mean to be a party pooper today, but I never really understood the Geland hype. One of the highest error rates I've seen. You're probably not wrong. I mentioned about it near the start how he either has a 9 out of 10 and everyone goes, whoa, this guy's great, or he has a 2 out of 10 and everyone questions his spot in the team. Unfortunately for Watakalante, though, there's not really an in-between ground for him. It's either he's brilliant or he's non-existent out there on the field, or the only things you see him existing for are his errors. Eric Kronya, I should say, charging forward now since making his way off of the bench for this Lions team. A big wide cutout pass out to Frankie Horn down the wing. Stephen Nkura gets him low. What an offload that is, though. 5 metres out from the line for the Lions. Looking to get try number 3. Kieran Horn with the step. Gets round 1. Just can't quite get away from the tackle of JJ Kutsia. There is an advantage in play. Off to Eric Kronya, who scores the try. And that is now a comfortable position in this game for the Lions. And once again, do the Stormers look at that decision to take 3 and think to themselves, what were we doing in that scenario? Who do Australia play this year? They do play New Zealand later on. They've got a few games in the July internationals as well. I don't think an Argentine tour has been organised as of yet. What does that come down to for a chess player? Says AI underdog pick. And Oops, I did it again, says Ruby. Now Chris Smith, chance to line up this one. Let's go Lions, says Cheslin. And they are doing extremely well throughout this game. It's for the mouth disease, says Craig, for Stormers will come back. It's just going to take a bigger comeback now, Craig. And that kick has gone over from Chris Smith, 21-3. The way that the score sits. Now need one more for the bonus point in this scenario. I never knew that the Lions were sponsored by Burger King. But there you go. And up Shark Attack says Ruby. Right, looks like 3 changes now being made for the Stormers. It is the new front row making their way on. That is consisting of Andre Hugo Fenta, Vernon Matongo, and also Zachary Porthen. Hopefully I'm slightly out of the way enough so you guys can see the names on the benches. Right, it looks like they've also made the change of 19, which is Connor Evans. And why on earth, if you have any ambition of attacking, would you go for a 60-plus metre goal kick to start the game? Surely in club rugby, and that shows massive underconfidence in attacking execution. Yeah, and it's the weird thing about it for the Stormers, right, is look at that. Their points differential, plus 113. They did not get that points differential by taking the safe options. You know, they've received 4 bonus points across their 10 games, I believe, if my maths is correct. And a lot of those have been from scoring the tries. So, yeah, it's just strange. You do Varsity Cup? I don't. Only because I don't think they actually show it here in New Zealand, unfortunately, or not from what I've been able to find anyway. Who was supported by KFC are the URC teams. I don't actually know who's got a KFC sponsor. I don't know if anyone's got a McDonald's sponsor either, actually. But yeah, Burger King on the shorts of the Lions. Line out throw here. Again, weather update, it's raining in Pretoria, Hamish. I'll be over soon, hopefully. This happens almost every afternoon this time of the year. Says Ruby. Well, hopefully it does pass. Because the last thing we want is that Sharks and Bulls game to have a whole heap of handling errors there too. Now Roach trying to step his way through. Tackle made by Mahashi, who has recovered from that injury that it seemed like he had. Just a little bit to go. Evan Ruiz, I think that's Klakani holding him up. Almost stopped the knee from going down, but eventually Ruiz takes it to the turf. Oh, another drop ball from Sasha. Knock on from Watercalant too. And we're back to the Lions scrum. Oh, a little bit of afters here. You can see the attitude of Sasha coming out. One of the Lions players obviously said something. Sasha took a swipe at him. Sasha and the handling error says Sakila, yeah, every time he touches the ball at the moment, it's slipping through the fingers. And the last thing you want is the Sharks and a ball tank. Pakistan is scoring a few early boundaries as well, by the way. Oh, Klakane's now down with the injury. Is it the physicality side of things here for these players, or is it the fitness side? Because, once again, we've had about 10 injuries here throughout this contest. I want to say it's just because both teams have been so physical. And that's why players are staying. Now, it looks like Eric Kronya is actually going to have to make his way off for an HIA. That might be from when he scored the try. He did land on his face. Who scored? So we've seen Eric Kronya. We have seen Mahashi, and then also the try for Hinko van Wyk. So yeah, this actually brings, I believe, Nico Stain out onto the field due to that HIA. Evan Dasashi must be sacked for the Stormers in the Springboks. Says Mohadim and Stormers seem to be not be playing as a team, more as individuals. Says YZ. Yeah, they don't seem on the same page. And I wonder whether or not that's the absence of Kobus Reinach and Damian Valimza. Not having those two out there maybe is just making it a little bit more difficult. And Sharks and Bulls match preview kicked off the ball. Concede knock-ons and lots of ruck penalties. Says first 15, and we have got another scrum reset here. It's been a lot of them, but that's all right. We're going to get a hopefully close finish. Or at least something late. Smile on the face of Stephen and Kura. I'm not sure why he's smiling. They are losing by 19 points. Or 18 points, sorry. Your excuse for yawning, says Steve. And I do want to say it's not just the game. Or it's mainly not the game. It's just the fact that I've been up since yesterday morning. There's a penalty now at scrum time for the Stormers against the feed. Yeah, got up nice and early, coached some junior cricket here, went down and watched cricket, and then now we're on to about our 8th hour of streaming for the day. And we've still got one more stream around the corner. Sasha got into a relationship and forgot how to play rugby. Says Marlon. I would say that that's my excuse too, but it's just not. I just forgot how to play rugby and I'm not in a relationship, but that's now going to be kicked to the corner. About 7 metres out for this kick of the Stormers. This is when they need to start getting points. Can Cheslin be a number 10? I think Cheslin can play most places out there on the field. It was a big yawn. But yeah, I think Cheslin, you chuck him in as the hook, he'd go all right. You chuck him out on the wing, he's happy enough. Play him halfback, get him on the goal kick. And this is a big rolling maul here for the Stormers. And that is a statement drive over right there. I believe it was Marcel Tennyson. And now there's a bit more push and shove between these two sides. And never a fan of players looking at to the coaches on the sideline to decide what to do with a penalty. Good coaches promote player ownership of decisions and back yourself. Imagine if Cheslin plays number 6, that would be a challenge for any team. Marcel Tennyson off of the bench. They're actually showing Connor Evans here, though. But I believe it was Tennyson who scored it. You know you've watched too much South African rugby when I know to call out the broadcaster for showing the wrong player. Oh, no, they're checking for obstruction. Why? We don't need more stoppages. We've had enough of them to have for this whole game. Yawning a lot. At least just play a game alone. Says Mohadeen. And also we've got the going for a long time now. Marathon commentary man. New Zealand will go through to the semis, so don't worry about this game at the moment, says YZ. Yeah, although I'm watching Pakistan go right at the start of their match up against Sri Lanka. Right. What do we got? The rolling maul. Where's the obstruction? Right. Now what are we looking for? Diamani gets thrown up. Transfers the ball back. They're going to call Ruiz in front of Diamani here, aren't they? And they're going to rule this try out. At least it looks that way. Okay, Marius says that's what he's seeing. How's your eye, says Mohadeen? It's going all right, I think. And I think you are new South African, Hamish. We accept you as our own. And the accent is great too, says Ruby. Okay, so it's going to be obstruction against Evan Russ. That's the one that up until about last year, they weren't really calling for those obstructions and lineouts. That one has been ruled as such. And it takes away the Stormers' one try that they did almost have. I'm doing some maths in my head. We've had an hour 20 of this game for 50 minutes. Of course, you have that halftime break there too. We've had a few stoppages. You even know, yeah, even for a South African, this game has been a slog, says Mike. And I do feel bad that, like, all we've said at times in this one has been another scrum reset. But, you know, we've had a lot of them in this one. I'm a Stormers win of losses. And a proud Stormers, says Cheslin. Yeah, I do want to reiterate, the Stormers have had a month since playing. Not straight in the lineout, so we get another scrum. But, yeah, they're going to always have a bit of rust for not playing a match for a month, whereas the Stormers played last week. Or, sorry, the Lions played last week. But it's still, by now, I thought they would have started to find their rhythm a little bit. And we have got there, go the Lions, says Steve. And also, Funenberg, let's go, says Ruth. Change the score. Hopefully it changes itself soon. Seeing as it is an online one. Looks like a couple more changes being made here for the Lions. That is going to be the replacement props, Eddie Davids, as well as Conrad van Vuuren. And where are they now? It is going to be around that halfway line. Scrum feed. Way too many resets. I love me a good scrum, but the long time between plays becomes hard to watch, says Mike. And yeah, we looked through its stats in the first half, and it said there were, I think it was 10 scrums. But what it didn't equate for was the amount of scrum resets. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a game that if I'm really bored throughout the week, I'm going to randomly just get a stopwatch and see how much time we had of scrums. Whose ball it is, the Stormers scrum feed due to the not straight throw from the Lions. Oh, front rows collapse and penalty goes the way of the Stormers. Have you looked closely at Hamish's water bottle? The fine print says, I can't believe it's not vodka. And that is now a penalty right off the bat against Eddie David. So that's the last thing that you want when you just make your way on. It says it's still 21-3 or 21-8. So 21-3. Scoreboard's just updated itself back down to being on 3. Decent kick towards the sideline. About 22 out. Yeah, we just see straight away the collapsing in the front rows. At least the game was boring. See, here's Mohideen. See, I didn't get a chance to watch that one. Was it a case of both sides defending well, or was it just not attacking well in that one? Because, like, if it's a low-scoring game where both sides played really good rugby defensively, like, I'll probably watch the whole thing and be happy. This is close to the line again, this time for Marcel Tennyson, getting carried towards the sideline by the Lions players. The ball pops out the back. Ahmad Khan is out there on the field for Steven Nkura. Looks like they've also made another change in the back replacement situation. Even Russ driven backwards. 3 meters out. Advantage now to the Stormers. Is this the start of the comeback? Sasha goes to Lelion Zas. Almost manages to sneak through. Back to the right again. Or Similani. Tennyson. Going left again to Connie Evans. Another advantage now for the Stormers. Markan goes to Ruiz. Great hands there. And JD Schickerling scores between the posts. Now, I don't think they can cancel that one. Go the Sharks. Massive Thunder and Lightning. I hope they don't call the game off. Because of this, I will do a little dance, says Ruby. Yeah, see, Lightning's the tricky one. If there's Lightning, they'll have to delay the game. Which I really hope doesn't happen, because I might end up falling asleep in the build-up if that was the case. Lens game had terrible weather, raining. Yes, so that will never help. Plus the fact that both sides would have been rotating big time. Anyone who's keeping an eye on the Pakistan game, Pakistan are going pretty quick at the start of this one. They have 48 for none off 4.2 overs. Trying to make that statement. Paul de Villiers able to make his way back out onto the field. Most games after watching Test level rugby, Six Nations make these games look boring. Says So Incredibles. Yeah, I think it's just the stop-start nature of them. Like, I normally love watching these two sides play, and I've enjoyed moments of this game. It's just, you almost fall into the pattern of expecting a scrum every minute, and that's what we've had. We can keep you awake. We have questions. And Stormers are hoping for a break, says Steve. How crazy was the Canes and Drua game? That pitch was a mess, but was super entertaining. Yeah. Yeah, the turf took a bit of a hammering, but that was the equaling factor. I mentioned about it before the match got underway. I felt like the Hurricanes on a dry pitch would have done very well, but on the wet pitch, that pretty much makes it that 50-50, and in the end, the Drua doing very well. Kieran Horn, he's taken obstruction from 2 different players there who blocked him. Now Sasha flicks it on the inside to Ahmad Khan. Offload to Diamani. Good to see that man back. He went overseas, didn't he? I think to either Racing or Stade Francais or somewhere in the top 14. Similani now inside pass to Roach. Can't quite get the offload away. Ball got stuck underneath his head like it was a pillow. Now Sasha goes to Connie Evans. We have got there. Who do you think will win? I still think the Lions have done enough early, but this not Western Province, the Stormers side, them getting the try there, I think, changes this game a little bit, because it just seems like they're a bit more aggressive. And maybe that's Ahmad Khan. That's made the difference, but that is a penalty now to the Lions. 25 metres out from the Stormers line. This is a 3-pointer if they want it. The 1020 or the rugby, says Steve. Tell you what, you would have hated the last stream, Steve. We were talking about pies. But it's a good steal there. And that's also what happens when you have so many stoppages. You end up getting distracted. 23 minutes left in the Lions. They will try and add the additional 3. This is Chris Smith. He did miss his last kick in the first half. Now, chance to get them back. We're having to Cardiff. 8 lengths to 7. Well, that's exactly what happened. That was the score. Can the Stormers be playing any worse, says Rugby Ready? They could have a red card. I think that would make it even harder for them. Chris Smith does get that kick over, making the score now 24 points to 10. We have got there. Damn, this game has taken long. Payday seems closer than this game finishing. And we have got there. You think Lions can still take the South African Shield? I think they're sitting all right. In terms of, like, the way that it sits currently, they were in second, I think, right? I'm really interested to hear your or subscribers' opinion on TMO. Can cancel try after conversion. It makes some sense, but also seems really clunky if cancelled just before the restart. I don't mind it as long as it's the right decision. Like, because sometimes the players will rush the conversion to get it out of the way so that they then don't have to worry about they think that by doing that, they can rush it and allow the TMO not enough time to be able to check it. But, yeah, as long as it's the right choice. I don't mind them checking it going, okay, no, it is still a try, so we'll play on, we'll go from the restart. But if it's something that's just taking that little bit longer to find, I think it's all right. But it also does make it stop-start again, doesn't it? Stormers really fell off the boil. They started the season so well, says Daryl. And imagine playing this game and your bench chairs are plastic, says Inferno. Thrown in by Andre Hugo Fenta. Old Jonathan Roach almost sneaks through a gap he created. Amar Khan goes across to Ruiz. Here's Paul de Villiers. Now left, Sasha shoveling it on nicely. Lilian Zas close to the sideline there. Amar Khan. Now Sasha pops it up there, almost through with Zachary Porthen. Now Khan. 10 metres out from the line. Tell you what, Stormers score here. This game gets a little bit more interesting for the closing moments. And it may turn into similar to Lions versus Sharks. How maybe there are a few patchy moments beforehand, but the last 10 minutes could be extremely entertaining. There was a knock-on from Similani. Ball stolen by the Lions on the ground. Now back into the pocket. And this time Henko van Wyk has to be the man to kick it downfield. Do you see the Stormers coming back on this one? They have to be the next team to score if they're going to. Are they 7 for 8th on the log, says Daryl. At the moment, the way that the table sits, 1 second will go like that. There we go. So the Lions currently are in 7th place in the overall standings. The Bulls are in 8th. The Sharks are in 10th. The Stormers are right up there in 4th. I like to think that that's high enough to not get demoted out of that top 8. But once again, it's just very hard to tell. There's still so much rugby that can take place throughout the next few weeks. In my opinion, if the restart is rushed, then sure, keep checking. However, if it takes 2 minutes to find something wrong with the try, then it wasn't clear enough to intervene in the first place. Yeah, no, it's a tricky one because sometimes the TMOs just don't get the angle that they're after for the good. When they try and show a replay of the try and they go, sorry, just queuing the replay. And it takes them 30 seconds and they still don't show the right one. I think that sometimes happens for when they're trying to get the after try replay. Which obviously, it must make it very difficult to try and deal with. That's the thing, you've got the split second to make the right choice, don't you? It's a bit more time than the referee, but still not much to look through so much that can happen. And what happened to the mighty Stormers? They're just struggling a little bit in this game. They're not out of it, though. If they score next, although they are making it once again difficult for themselves. Kicking this one high is Whatakalant. And crossfield with it. Up for the ball. Diamani slaps it back to the Stormers. And now there is an advantage for the knock-on from the Lions here too. Going away. Oh, no. Stolen back by the Lions. Back in the pocket is Kewan Horn. Looking for the 50-22. Steep bounce of the ball. Controlled by Dylan Mart. Oh, what a charge down. I think it smacked Cronje in the face. But he stopped the ball from coming out of the 22. He's going to run it back out. Get towards the sideline, although that one hasn't found touch. Some nice hands from Chris Smith right next to the far side. I think that's one of the first times we've seen Dylan Mark run with the ball here. And one day they will be doing DNA testing before they award a try. Let's enjoy it while we can, says Ruby. And Ruby's biggest issue, we need partial camera operators so the ref and TMO aren't shown subjective angles. We all know this happens, especially when in France. Yeah, I think any home side does it, to be fair. Not like France are normally not the best with it. But, you know, it happens in South Africa. It happens in New Zealand, Australia. They have that angle. And the thing is, I think the concerning part, or at least I think what would be better to do, is not show it on the big screen until after they've made the decision completely. Because that's when you get the crowd starting to play a little bit of factor. That's going to go into touch. It's like the Caleb Clark try we saw earlier on in Super Rugby. The Brumbies crowd were all booing it, going, oh, he's dead, he's over the dead ball line. So then they decided, hang on, we'll have a look at this. They went upstairs. He was in by like a good 20 centimetres. But because of the crowd booing, they thought that might have been something that they had missed. So I think they need to be strategic with when they show the crowd the replays. It's normally like in the cricket, how they won't show that ball until after everything is cleared. There's no review that's going to be taken, because or else then the players would watch the big screen and go, actually, that looks pretty out. And I think we've seen that. It was in one of the overseas leagues that happened for an LBW shout. They got to see the replay and then they went, actually, we're still within our 15 seconds. Let's go upstairs and check this one. These derby games always seem to disturb the apple cart, says Anthony. Yeah, there's always a list of like 10 injuries from these games too. They just love throwing themselves at each other. Yuri Matia not far from making his way on. No more oranges at halftime. These derby games, I know I read that one, didn't I? But remember, Chicago, the crowd was bored stiff, says Daryl. Line out for Andre Hugo Fenta, going right over the back through the hands of JD Schickerling. Luckily for him, it's gone backwards. So it stays on the side of the Stormers again. Ahmad Khan kicks downfield. Oh, good chase there to make the ground for Chris Smith. Oh, no, in fact, sorry, it was actually Cronje, and he's kicked it out on the full. Seems like these boys have forgotten how wide the field is. So that's the second one that's kicked out on the full now for the Lions in quick succession. It will be a Stormers line out from about 32 out. Who's in position now? The Stormers. They're just showing there the South African shield. The Lions would be at the top of the bunch if this is the way that the match ends. Sharks in second, Stormers, then the Bulls. But winning 4 games, losing 2 up against South African sides would be absolutely massive for the Stormers team. And that would actually be what has got them to where they are on the table. If the try scorer has paid or not paid his TV license, a no try may be awarded, says Xander. That one's going to be slapped back now. Ahmad Khan goes to Yuri Matia. Sasha's dropped out more as a second receiver by the looks of it here. Now, left-hand side. Oh, Rusum has got his mouth guard knocked out there. That's how hard he got hit in the midsection. Now, Marcel Dennison looked good since making his way off the bench. Yuri Matia tries the inside ball. Sasha has dropped the ball again, but luckily for him, regathered before it hit the ground. Now breaking through a couple tackles for the Stormers, and the penalty awarded now. Ahmad Khan takes it quickly, trying to up the tempo of this game, which he has been able to do since making his way off the bench for Nkura. Vandenberg trying to slow that one down, had no intentions of being on his feet in that breakdown. Similani now stepping inwards, gets round Mahashi, offload there to Lelion Zas, 5 metres out, becomes 3, ball slapped back, now passed off. In fact, he should have passed, and it's going to be held up. That is a poor decision there from the Stormers. They had the man on the outside who was in such an open space, and it's Andre Hugo Fenta who wanted father-in-law Rassi to see him finish that one off. Father-in-law to be. Might not get the approval with a finish like that. Got turned to his back, and just stopping him from going over was Kwama. How are you doing? How are you today? I'm doing all right. We're up to our 4th live stream in a row. Tiredness has kicked in a little bit, but it's not as bad as it was at the start of this game. So it's slowly building up. Sasha playing fullback? Maybe. It depends on where Gelant is and if he's still out there. I haven't seen him recently, though. It looks like Sasha couldn't catch a cold, says Joe Mann, and the Shielders are also on the line for this game, says Otaku. Yeah, it would be a big one for the Stormers, or sorry, for the Lions if they were victorious here in front of the home crowd yet again. In the Sharks there last week. Evan Rose get a call up to the comp, or to the camp. He hasn't really done his part, says Daryl. Yeah, although I don't know if it, like Marcel Tedderson's probably looked the best for the Stormers, and he's been on the field for the shortest amount of time when it comes to that forward pack. I'd say that like JD Schickerling's had some good moments. He at least finds himself as one of the nominations for man of the match in this match. Your sneezing has seemed to stop. Yeah, I haven't been getting as bad of hay fever as of late, which is quite nice. More strapping on the head of Kieran Horn. Normally quite a few battle scars from South African derbies. The game between the Bulls and the Sharks round the corner will be no different. If the Sharks beat the Bulls with an extra point, childish, the fans win with no extra point, I think. And I could be wrong. Fact check, please. Says Otaku. They're just showing the replay again of going for that finish. And Kwama maybe hits him a bit high. I still think that Andre Ugafenta definitely should have gone with the pass on the outside there, though. It's hard to judge any South Africa off domestic play alone. The system is completely different, says JP. Yeah, I mean, you look at a side like the Sharks, even just last season, how they had all those guys who were in the Springboks playing world-class rugby, sticking back in the Sharks, and they couldn't get anything really going. They're looking at this one 15 times. Wow. Lions are going to get a yellow card here. And that is for the Kwama tackle. And in that case, this has to be a penalty try. Because he has tackled him over the goal line. Stopped him from rotating. This is going to be a huge call in this game now. Right, now they're checking to see if it is the penalty try. We got Danielle with the cue. And there as well, and if the Stormers want to be top 5, they need to find a better plan. I'm looking for a justification for this gift penalty try. They want to give the Cape Townians. I really hate this demo 15-time check, says Daryl. Yeah, it definitely hasn't helped the speed of the game so far. Right, number 20, Kwama. He's going to be sent off the field with the yellow. And I don't think it's going to be a penalty try. I think roles are much more defined when playing for the box. You know exactly what your job is, says JP. And hi, Hamish, says Danielle. And there's, I hope you are doing well. And yeah, hopefully you are excited for that Sharks versus Bulls game just around the corner too. Only 14 minutes remaining of this one. When's the next game start? Next game, it is going to be starting in 50 minutes time, but our live stream is going to be starting in 35 minutes. So not too far away. We've got about a 15-minute build-up for that contest. And then, yeah, underway for the last live stream of the day. Maybe, depending on whether or not we get home in time from the buffet to be able to do any T20. The weakest thing for the Stormers is their own failed game plan. Says Logan Roberts. Yeah, they've just made a lot of errors, haven't they? This is my theory. You put a lot of box in a franchise after being coached by Rasi and his team. Expect them to respect a mediocre coach? I don't think so. See, that's pretty rough, though, isn't it? Like, and surely as a player, you should respect any coach that's in charge of you, because or else, like, what, you're just not going to play domestic rugby? I think it just comes down to maybe they don't try as hard. Like, it sounds harsh, but if you're getting money for the box, and if you get injured during the URC season, you are out for the box. Like, you're going to try your best to kind of manage your fatigue, manage your injuries as best you can so that you can keep on playing in the green and gold. Oh, Ahmad Khan. And off to the left-hand side. Big attack and run from Sasha Feinberg and Zulu. Driven backwards by Bronson Mills. Quickly recycled there again, Yuri Matia. Oh, Khan. Trying to sneak through. Isn't it the coach's job to make the players try harder, says Ruby? But yeah, if by your logic that you've just said, if the players are too stuck up themselves to respect a coach, they're not going to try hard for them anyway, are they? Oh, that one's just gone dead. Is he all right, Similani? He's doing a little bit of the twist on the sideline. I think he's hurt his ankle maybe here. I thought maybe the boot had come off. Motivation is inward out, not outward in. And also we have got there people who think Evan is better than Buthelezi is quite shocking. Says illicit. Yeah, we are going to get to see Pepsi Buthelezi in action. The next match up against the Bulls. No player should be better than the team. Says Logan Roberts, this is another TMO. What are we checking now? Right, Andre Hugo Fenta's taking a shot on the chin. Lions are doing good, says Johan. And maybe, at the end of the day, they are the team with the least Springboks around. Yeah, it's a shoulder to the head of Andre Hugo Fenta. He ducks down a little bit, but still hits him high. When on earth is that kick on? Says first 15. Exactly right, Hamish. They did that to the Razor, says Ruth. Yeah, this is a hard collision. And what is the comparison between Super Rugby TMO and URC? Without it sounding like I'm favouring one competition, Super Rugby have made it their goal to speed up the TMO. So if they don't find it out in the first one or two, or maybe the third replay, they kind of get on with it. Whereas in this one so far, there's been a lot of TMOs that have taken multiple minutes. Now another yellow card. Super Rugby TMO is levels above. No doubt, says First 15 Rugby, and teams with less internationals seem to do well, says Sean O'Farrell. But there's Conrad van Veeren making his way off. Still 12 minutes remaining in this contest now. I guess the good news is there's not going to be much of a gap between these two games now. The Lions are good. Hello, friend, says Johan. Welcome in. The Lions now, though, they are playing with 13 men on the field. That is not easy. TMO, not the answer to bad play, says Logan. We can learn something from them, says Illicit. It's a new Super Rugby rule, says Darren. Now the Stormers. 2 extras on the field. Can they get 2 converted tries here? Potentially work their way towards a draw, if not maybe sneak a win right at the end of this game, having both international players going to play. And Curry Cup stacked on them with 1 week break to use when they have left for the first 3 games. It's quite hard. Teams like the Stormers and Lions do well, says Ataku. And I don't think you are that far off. The way players speak so highly of Rassi, you can imagine they'd find it hard to put their body on the line for another coach as they do for Rassi, says JP. Now, even Russ throws himself at the line. Oh, another advantage against the Lions. They're starting to really let their discipline slip, and they've done this in games before, and it often leads to a really tight finish. If World Rugby wants to speed up the game, get rid of the TMO, says Anthony. Now Diamani, beautiful step from him, gets round 2. Mahashi takes him down and rips the boot clean off his foot. They've got a free kick advantage, I think the referee said there. What's that for? What's the free kick advantage for? How would they have won a free kick there? I assume that there's something that's given them one. But how do you win a free kick in open play? It wasn't a knock-on advantage, wasn't a penalty advantage. What would they have done, the Lions, to get them in trouble like that? Oh, that's close. That's very close. Held up, though, for the Stormers. That is now, I believe, their 3rd time being held up in the in-goal area. The Box still to believe they can relax and lower their standards when they return to their franchises. Stormers were playing well until the Box returned, says Louis. What's the yellow card for now? So it was a high shot shoulder to the head from Conrad van Vuren. Our World Rugby Union won't stop the scrums line out. I think it's more of a testament to the respect Rasi commands as opposed to the respect players lack for other coaches, says JP. Another goal line dropout, 9 minutes left, 14 points difference. Can they still come back? They still can, but they're making it hard for themselves. They get into positions to score and then they pick the wrong man to go over the line. How much time left? 9 minutes left in this contest now. Sasha Feinberg, Zulu, forward pass, knock on from his teammate. Now Bronson Mills pops it up. Atini Ustahazen was going for a kick, but they'll go back now for the scrum. Honestly, the South African refs at the moment are not on par with the refs. Rest, says Anthony. How many yellows for the Lions? They've got 2 at this stage. Yeah, 4 pass from Sasha to Yuri Matia. And how you doing, says Johan. I am doing not too badly. Although, I have to say, someone who is doing badly is Sri Lanka at the moment in terms of their bowling. They have given away 90 runs in 9 overs, which is not ideal. And I'm not a big Dylan Mart fan. Prefer JC Mars. Dobby is not backing young players. And 2 tries not going to be easy. Definitely not with the amount of times they've been held up. Like we saw that one earlier on. Andre Hugo Fenta went for it himself, got held up. We saw that one only 2 moments ago. Got held up. One earlier in the first half. I can't remember who it was, but they got held up from just trying to go a little bit too aggressive at the line. I'm a huge Lions fan, so you will be absolutely loving their form in recent times. The cricket seems like match fixing, says YZ Smith. See, I didn't want to say it specifically, but anytime someone asked me if Pakistan were going to win by the runs that they needed, I said it wouldn't surprise me if they won by 1 more than what was needed. That's all I'll say. They should take a break and play Curry Cup. This one's in the in-goal area. Stormers with Wataka Land at the back. We'll just force it. It's going to be the goal line dropout. Can I say something? Go for it, Mohadin. How do you get held up against 13 men? By making a poor choice. It's pretty much the gist of it. Hey, Johan, I'm enjoying the game. Cheers, Ruth. This one kicked off high. The Lions now, though. They are still 1 try away from a bonus point. Eric Kronya, I should say, sorry. Oh, no. That's a mistake. It's a knock-on. And unfortunately, what has happened here is one of the Lions players tried to regather. As he was landing, his teammate ripped it off him and scored the try, but it was in front. This is a boring game, says Mohadin. Well, we've got another South African derby just around the corner, so we can hope for the best. But yeah, just a knock-on from Frankie on Eric Kronya. I keep on calling him Elric. But yeah, he tried to rip the ball off him. Poor performance from the Stormers. How does Galant not know that's a goal line? Yeah, I did see that, how he threw it back out to the 22. Requas won the Curry Cup, says Donovan. Did I cover the Curry Cup final? I can't even remember if we did. Surely we would have. Right? I think. Did I? They're just showing the replay. I think that's a knock-on. Or if it's a knock-on, it's probably a forward pass. In that case. Curry Cup 2025 final. Did we do it? Yeah, we did. I've done too many streams. I don't remember what streams I've done. Okay, clearly grounded by number 23, but I thought it was passed forward by Frankie Horn. Yeah, so it is going back for the knock-on. How many minutes? Still another 7 minutes remaining now. Try line dropout is what the refs just said there, but goal line dropout, same thing. Are you caffeinated? I am not. I don't actually really drink a lot of caffeine. In fact, I hardly drink any. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. I did have a Mountain Dew like 15 years ago. But outside of that, I don't really have a lot of like anything caffeinated. Which is probably why my face slowly looks more and more tight. Oh, referee's down. He's fallen down, but he's got straight back up. Now, Schumann. Oh, took a knee to the face from one of his teammates. And a big knock on from Bronson Mills. Counter attack here for the Stormers. Kicked him behind. Chris Smith looking over his shoulder, seeing if there's pressure on him. That's such a good take from Morne Fundenberg as they were under all sorts of pressure from the Stormers. Go the Sharks, says Toe. And what do you eat? I had some chips before, just during the break that we had. Or drink. Normally it's just the 1.5 of water. We normally go through about 2 of these for the day of streaming. Vegan? Nah, definitely not a vegan. As much as we find it funny, Lant doesn't know its goal line. But is that not a serious issue? How can you be a pro fullback and not understand these things? See, here's first 15. That might be a 22-22 from Watercalam for that kick. I don't think it bounced in the field of play, though. A wind is howling here, says Daryl. Check the fine print on the water bottle, says Ruby. What does it say? It is by the Coca-Cola company, but it doesn't have caffeine in it, which is quite good. Spring water. Although it's tap water, I've refilled it, so it's not quite the same. Now we have got there, surely that's not vodka, says Joe Man. Oh, what's happened here? It's a rare card for the Lions. Which one's that? Is that the first one? Okay, so Kwama's card has been upgraded to red. He will not return in this game. Is that really a rare card? How is that a rare card but not a penalty try? You know, like if you're going to upgrade it, you at least got to say, right, we were probably wrong and it should have been a penalty try. But now Morne Fundenberg. This is one high again. Oh, knock on by Kronya, but a penalty awarded to the Lions. Where's Klubberkun? Yeah, I'm not actually too sure where he is for this game because I know that they did have Schoolman in the starting lineup. And then off of the bench, Van Fjorden. Remaining time at the moment is 4 minutes left in this match. Why don't you drink a beer? I think that would be too fizzy, wouldn't it? Just spend the whole live stream burping. It wouldn't be too great to listen to. Seriously, water now, says Logan. And no advertising, please, says Daryl. Now Chris Smith. He's had a good game controlling this one. Klubakani has a hearing. Has he gone? Wait, so Kwama's now back on, even though he got a red card. So it was actually not his card that got upgraded. It was his teammates. It was Conrad van Vuren's one that got upgraded because he's just made his way back on. He's just snuck through the cracks there in Kwama, and he's gone, oh, well, if they don't call me out for it, I might as well keep playing. So ready for the next game. It's going to be a wet one, and the Sharks' perfect handling era record will come into play. And after 24 hours of beer, we would hear much, says Daryl. How much time is left, says Johans. Currently still 3 minutes left in this contest. And it's the line out now for Franco Marai. Yes, we're using substances. I thought he got all cleared for that, though. I thought that it was everything that, like, the doctor, he went through the process that he was supposed to and just got done for something that they didn't realise wasn't allowed. But then isn't it weird that they were, like, he was allowed to play up until his hearing? If it was a substance, like, surely it's not that bad if they've let him play up till this stage. The Bulls win the Sharks, then the Lions win the Shield. Yeah, they must do, because 4 wins out of the 6 will be there for the Lions. Right. I think that Pakistan have just lost a wicket. Yeah, they have. That's quite good news if you are a New Zealander. Longest minutes of my life, so flipping boring, says Daryl. Yeah. I think that we're all in agreement for this game no matter if the Stormers or the Lions are your team, I would say that the Lions probably aren't too mad at the way that this match has gone because they are still winning by 14 points. But from a neutral perspective, it has been far from the greatest game we've ever seen. Now, I'll tell you what, they've tried a bit of a risky offload there with Ahmad Khan. It just goes straight into touch. Great result, says another person. Worst game I've ever heard in my life, says the AI underdog pick. You should be allowed to play until you are found guilty, says Anthony. But I thought he was originally found as it's a weird situation. Doctors prescribed the banned substance to him. Hopefully they don't ban him. I don't think they will. I think that he went through the process that he had to in terms of getting everything what he thought was cleared and whatnot. So I don't see him getting banned. I think it would be harsh. And we have got there, I'm having one on you. But now we got another scrum. I don't think we've had enough of those throughout this game, so we might as well chuck a couple in at the end of the match as well. Oh no, sorry, Pakistan didn't lose a wicket. So they are still 114 for none. No, Sri Lanka did not take the review, still no wickets. It would have been out though, right, YZ? Is that what we saw? How there was like a nick, but they didn't look at it? Are these Stormers really worth the money with the bankrupt Stormers? Says Login. And they certainly haven't had their money's worth in this contest. They can still get within 7, though, theoretically, if they were going to be able to score soon. But 50 seconds remaining in this contest. The Lions have got themselves the scrum feed from 20 metres out from their line. And yes, out says YZ. And that does hurt for Sri Lanka, definitely with the way that Pakistan do sit currently. Now back across Mone Vandenberg. Pakistan aren't slowing down either. Now told to use it. I don't think so, says Daryl. What's the cricket score? Right, anyone who doesn't want to know, be sure to mute just for a second. I'm about to say it. Hopefully you've muted by now. Pakistan are 118 for none off 11 point something overs. So they're going really, really good. But then they had to because they have to win by about 65 runs. Nice fender. Oh no, the ankles. Gave out from underneath him there for Renzo Duplessis, and he's thrown the ball straight back to the Stormers. Picked up by Evan Russ up to the halfway line. We are just about to see the end of this game if Sasha passes it into touch. That summed up his day. He's frustrated too about it, Sasha, and that is going to be the end of what has been a good game for the Lions, a pretty lackluster one for the Stormers side. Let Stormers resign the contract and hope next few Stormers games worth paying for, says Logan. And I reckon they just helping Lions stay in the top 8, says Toe. But yeah, no bonus points for either of these sides from this matchup. The Lions did get 3 tries in the end rather than their 4 that they were after. But yeah, nicely enough done by this Lions team. They were in control from the get-go. Those 2 early tries, though, that secured them this match. And from there, they just kept on holding on. And they've said back to the drawing board for the Stormers side. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are going to be popping away for 15 minutes, and then we are back for that next matchup taking place between the Bulls and the Sharks. So be sure to tune in for that. And I will see you all for the next one.